We're going to see how to work with directives, alright? So without further ado, let us dive in and see how to work with directives. So I'm going to my code, and in this about page here, the about blade template, I'm going to clean everything so that we have just a clean page like this. And the way you work with directive is that you have to declare the directive with this @ symbol here and say, and maybe use the directive structure here. And then after writing the structure, you have to end the directive with an end statement like this, then followed by the structure again. All right. And then inside the or between the structure tags, you have to use HTML. All right. HTML. And if you want to pass any variable here, you'll have to use these two curly braces and pass a variable inside this, directive. So let us see the first directive, which is going to be the if. And of course, we know that if this statement, which I'm going to pass in the if here, if it is true, then do the or perform the action that follows. All right. So remember to end your if like that. And then if 5 is greater than 10, I want you to write here a statement and say 5 is greater than 10, like this. And in this case, of course, 5 is not greater than 10, so we don't expect this statement to be printed. So if I go to the browser and just do a refresh here, it should print nothing. Why? Because 5, of course, is not greater than 10. As you can see, we have nothing printed. But if I go back and say 5 is less than, like this, 5 is less than 10, now this should be true, and I should be able to see that statement here. As you can see, now we have the statement 5 is greater than 10. So again, on the if direct, we can be able to introduce and use the else if. Else if simply means that if the first or the top if fails, then execute this else if or this if statement. All right. So if this statement fails, so I'm going to put 5 is greater than 10 so that it fails, so that it executes this second if. And in this second if, I'm going to put 5 is less than 10 so that it can be true. So if the first if statement is false, then continue with the second else if statement. And if the second else if statement is false, then continue with the third else if statement. So you can put as many as you want this else if statement to just play around and see. So let me just add an else here, an else if, just to show you that it is actually executing this statement here. And if I go back to the browser and do a refresh here, as you can see, we have the else if is greater than 10. So, and again, with the if statement, you can be able to use the else statement. So the else statement will execute if all the if statements and the else if statements have failed. All right. If all those, the if statements and the else if statements have failed, then the else statement will execute. And in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going also to make this fail by putting greater than here. And I'm going to copy this, paste here, and I'm going to say this is the else instead of else, so that we actually know that it is executing the else statement. So I'll go back to my browser here and then just do a refresh again here. As you can see, it told me that else 5 is greater than 10, which means the statement that was executed is this one at the else position. So that is all about the if. The next directive that you can be able to look is the unless. This now is also a very interesting statement. So this statement checks for false statement. All right. So I'll end unless like this. And if this statement that has been passed to the else is false, that is the only time it will execute. So for example, if I say 5 is greater than 30, this is a false statement. Then I'll say h1 here, and I'll say this is a false statement like this. All right. So this statement only executes when the value that has been passed here is false. So if I go now to my browser and just do a refresh again here, we should be able to see our statement printed here. But if I pass a true statement here, in this case 5 is less than 30, that is a true statement. This statement won't execute. So if I go back and just do a refresh here, it should print nothing. Why? Because the statement wasn't executed. As you can see, it prints nothing. So the next thing that I want to see or I want us to look is the switch statement. And the switch statement is used to compare one case with many cases, all right? So let me just switch like this. So let us say, for example, I want the user inputs a day. A day may be Monday. So you want to check this day against all the days. And if it is Monday, do something. If it is Tuesday, maybe give him a specific message or a specific alert. If it is Thursday, the same. So in this case, I'll just create a variable here very fast. And in this variable, we can call this variable, let us say day, and I'm going to put it to be, by default, to be Monday, all right? So, and I'm going to pass this day in the switch statement, in our switch statement here, and see, I'm going to pass my day here. And so I'm going to say if it is the case whereby this day that has been passed in our guy here is equal to Monday, then I want to print that today is Monday, all right? So I'll just copy this, or I'll just duplicate this like this. Okay, what have I done? Let me just undo this and just do this like that. And then, okay, I'll just do this. Okay. So if it is Monday, say today is Monday. If it is Tuesday, I also want to say that today is Tuesday, all right? Tuesday. If it is Wednesday, all right, I want to say Wednesday. I want to say that today is Wednesday. If it is Thursday, I want to say that today is Thursday, all right? So let me just write this first. And then if it is Friday, I'll just tell this guy that today is Friday. And if it is Saturday, I'll just tell again this guy that today is Saturday, right? Like this. And lastly, if it is on a Sunday, I'll just tell this guy that today is on a Sunday. All right. So currently, as you can see, I've declared the day to be Monday. So I expect this to print the case. Actually, I'd forgotten. One more thing that we need to do is that we need to break this. Once I've executed this code here, I need to break. I don't want this code to continue executing. So I'm going to copy just this guy and paste here very fast. And again, I'm going to paste here. I'm going to paste also paste here. And here also, here. And lastly here. And I also want to pass a default case. If someone maybe passes a day that is not viable or is not understandable, then I want to pass a default case. In this case, I'll use the directive default, and then I'll just say in this case that this is not a valid day, all right? Something of that sort. So if I go to the browser now, I'll just do a refresh and I expect to see Monday. Why? Because our day is Monday. So let me just do a refresh here. As you can see, it prints that today is Monday. If I go back and change this day to be maybe Tuesday like that, I expect it to print Tuesday, all right? So let us go back and do a refresh here. As you can see, it prints that today is Tuesday. So that is how you can be able to use the switch directive, the if directive, the unless directive. You know, all those cases. Again, there is another directive. If you have used PHP, you know the at is set. All right. So this you can use to check if variable have been set. So I can check maybe if a variable has been declared. For example, I can say a variable by the name day before I do a switch, and then you can say if it is set, then do a switch. Otherwise, maybe do something else. In this case, day has been set. In our case, the day hasn't been set, so I don't expect it to print anything. So if I do a refresh here, of course that should do nothing, all right, because the day has not been set. As you can see, it does nothing, it prints nothing. Why? Because the day has not been set. Let us just continue with our lesson here. And the one I want to show you is the for each. If you can remember, in our earlier lesson, I kind of used the for each, but here I just want to show you again how we can be able to achieve this. So the for each usually takes either a collection or an array, whatever, something that can be iterated, something that can be looped through, right? So here I'm going to create an array, and in this array, let us say this array may be days of the week, all right? And I'm going to equate this to be Monday. Let's say also Tuesday, we have Wednesday, we have Thursday. I think those are enough just to illustrate how the for each works. And then now here in the for each, I'm going to say days of the week, this variable that we have created here. I'm going to use this variable here and say days of the week as, so you're looping through the days of the week as one day, all right, as day of the week. So that will be a good example, and just say day of the week, all right? And for each of these day of the week, I want you maybe to do what? I want maybe to print and say today is, and now to use a variable, as I told you in the earlier part of this at directives lesson, is that you'll use these curly braces and now pass the day of the week inside, all right, like this. So this will use or print the day of the week in this part. So it will read today is Monday the first time it runs through the loop. Today is Tuesday, today is Wednesday, today is Thursday. So expect to see 4 statements here. So let us go to the browser and just do a refresh here and see. Okay, when I go to the browser here, this is the error that I'm getting here. And let us just go back to the code and sort this error. It is telling me that I should do something about this array here. So what we can do is that we can just do this. Let us just remove this guy here. Let us just remove this guy here and go to our controller, and inside our controller here in the home controller in the about, let us just return this array instead from our controller here. That will solve the issue. So I'll just create this guy like this, all right, and just do this, and then I'll just say with here, with, and this should be days of the week, like this. And then of course I'm going to pass our guy here, days of the week. So this should sort the issue, all right. So let us go back again to our about page here, and now we are getting the days of the week, and we are looping through it, and then we are displaying it here. So let us do a refresh here again and see. As you can see, the error is gone, and now we have today is Wednesday, today is Tuesday, today is Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, so that is how basically you use the for each loop. And again, you can be able to use the for loop, the normal for loop, which we know of course from PHP. So I'll just use the for and I just end for like this. And then this for of course has to take the first or the starting point. We can say I is equals to 0. All right. And we can also say as long as our I here is less than maybe 10, something will be done. But for now, we want to increase this I by 1, all right? So it will check at every stage when increasing this I, all right? So we have our I here and we'll say we want to increase by 1. So that plus plus means to increase by 1. And I'm going to copy this guy here. I'm going to paste this guy here and I'm going to use I here instead. So expect it to print 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9, all right? Because 9 is the last check in this for here. So I'm going to delete this for each here and go back to the browser and do a refresh here. As you can see now, we have today is 0, today is 1, today is 2 until 9. So that is how you can be able to use the for loop. Also, you can be able to use something like the while loop. All right, so I'm just giving you an idea so that you can be able to pick this up and be able to do it on your own. And of course, this you need to end the while guy. All right, this is end while. So while will execute when the statement is true, but now unlike the if statement, while will execute like continuously. All right, so let us say, for example, if something is true here, then it will execute, and maybe you have a plus 1 here, or maybe I plus 1, just to increment the variable to go to the next test. All right, so for example, if we say here I should be less than 10, and then here we have our I here plus plus. All right, so for example, we have I here is less than 10, and as long as I is less than 10, then do something. All right, so we can declare that I on top here and say that our I here is equals to 0. So we're starting from 0, and then we can also say down here that we can actually do something like this. Let me just do like this and move this here. So we have something like this. We are incrementing I, and as long as I is less than 10, do this. But once I becomes greater than 10, then that is the only time we'll break the loop or we'll move out of the loop. All right. This is just something similar to the for loop or the for each loop, but in a just more sophisticated manner. So let us just go ahead and do a refresh here again and see. And now, as you can see in the browser, we have today is 0, today is 4 until 9. So that is just the same thing again. So what I want you to look at, I want you to go and look at the do while. All right, do while. This is now your homework for this lesson. I want you to look at the continue, and the break statements, and then find out how they work if you have never worked with them. And also I want you to look at to try and work with the for each and the if statement in one file. So try to use the for each inside the if statement or the if inside the for each statement, and then you will be good to go. And now let us meet in the next lesson.